The forest was quiet that night. The human traveler, a young man named Daniel, had built a small fire near the edge of the alien lake. He was far from home, exploring worlds that few humans had ever walked. The air smelled different here, heavy with strange flowers, and the sky glowed with 2 moons. He had planned to rest, cook a little food, and sleep until morning. But fate had something else prepared for him. Daniel was leaning back, staring at the stars, when a sound broke the silence. At first he thought it was the wind. Then he heard it again, soft, trembling, and filled with fear. A voice, human. "Please help me." The words froze his heart. It was not the voice of another traveler, not the rough tone of a soldier. It was gentle, almost musical, but desperate. He stood up quickly, his eyes scanning the dark trees. His instincts told him to stay near the fire, but something inside him pulled him toward the voice. Grabbing a torch, he walked slowly into the shadows. Every step made the ground crunch under his boots, and the forest seemed to grow colder. Again the voice echoed, "Please, help me." This time it was closer, coming from the lake. Daniel reached the water's edge and stopped. The surface of the lake shimmered with silver light under the moons, and there, standing in the shallow water, was a figure. A woman, no, not human. Her skin glowed faintly like soft blue crystal. Her hair floated around her as if the water itself obeyed her. She was covering herself with her arms, shivering. Her wide eyes looked at him. They were unlike any eyes he had ever seen, deep, glowing with hidden galaxies. She whispered again, her voice breaking. "They stole my clothes, human." "They stole them, please. Please help me." Daniel blinked, struggling to understand. Clothes? But as he looked closer, he saw the truth. On the ground near the lake were strange marks, like heavy boots had trampled the mud. Whoever had been here left quickly, and they had taken something important from her. The alien woman staggered toward the shore. Her legs shook as if her strength was fading. Daniel rushed forward, pulling off his jacket and throwing it around her shoulders. She gasped softly, clutching it tight. Her body trembled, not from cold alone, but from weakness. I cannot survive long without them," she whispered. "My clothes are not only cloth. They protect me. They help me breathe." She pointed at her chest, then at the lake. "Without them, I will die." Daniel felt his chest tighten. He had traveled through many dangerous places, but he had never seen anyone so fragile, so helpless. And yet there was a strength in her eyes, a fire hidden beneath her fear. Whoever had stolen from her knew what they were doing. Who took them? Daniel asked softly, her voice cracked. "Hunters, shadows of the night. They watch me. They want me weak. They will come back." She looked around nervously, as if expecting them to appear at any moment. Daniel's grip on his torch tightened. He knew this world was not safe. He had heard stories of mercenaries who captured aliens and sold them for credits. Maybe this was one of those cases. But why target her? Why steal her clothing instead of taking her outright? Questions filled his mind, but he pushed them aside. Right now she needed safety. "Stay close to me," Daniel said firmly. "I won't let them take you." For the first time, her lips trembled into a faint smile. But before she could answer, a sound rose from the dark forest behind them. A branch snapped. Then another. Daniel turned quickly, raising the torch. Between the trees, 2 small red lights blinked like eyes. They vanished, then reappeared closer, watching. The alien woman gasped and pulled his jacket tighter. "They are here." Daniel's heart pounded. He had no weapon except a hunting knife and his torch. The firelight flickered, casting long shadows across the trees. He could feel it, the sense of being hunted, of unseen eyes surrounding him. "We need to move," he whispered. "The fire will only make us targets." Carefully, he led her away from the lakeside, deeper into the woods. The ground was uneven, and every sound felt too loud in the silence of the night. Behind them, more branches cracked. Whoever followed them was not afraid to be heard. It was a warning. A game. The alien woman stumbled, and Daniel caught her arm. Her skin felt cold under his hand, her breathing shallow. I can't run far," she whispered. "Not without my clothes." Daniel looked ahead, spotting a ridge that could give them cover. "Just a little more," he urged. "Stay with me." The forest seemed alive now, filled with whispers and movement. Shadows danced at the corner of his vision. He knew they were being hunted. But what chilled him more was the sound that came next. A laugh, low and cruel, drifting through the trees. Daniel stopped, his blood turning cold. The alien woman froze too, fear widening her glowing eyes. "Run," Daniel whispered. and together, they stumbled into the dark, with the unseen enemy closing in. The forest was alive with danger. Daniel pulled the alien woman forward, his torch lighting the path. Though every flicker of flame made the shadows seem closer, behind them the cruel laugh echoed again, mocking, chasing them deeper into the trees. He knew they couldn't keep running forever. She was weak, her breath shallow, her glowing skin dimming. At last, Daniel spotted a cluster of rocks ahead. Between them was a hollow space, almost like a small cave. He guided her inside, setting the torch at the entrance so they had a little light. She collapsed against the stone, trembling. Daniel knelt beside her. "You need to rest," but she shook her head. "No rest. They will find us." Her voice cracked with fear, but also with a kind of knowledge. She knew these hunters well. Daniel tried to calm her. "Who are they?" "Why are they after you?" For a moment, she only stared at him with those galaxy-like eyes full of fear and sadness. Then, in a whisper, she said, "They are mercenaries. They steal, they hunt, they sell. To them, I am only a prize." She pulled the jacket tighter around her fragile body and looked away. "My clothes. They are not just for covering. They are my shield. They control my breath, my strength, my life. Without them, I am prey, and they know it." Daniel felt anger rise in him. He clenched his fists, thinking of the red glowing eyes in the trees. "Then we'll take them back," he said firmly. The alien woman's eyes widened. "You don't understand. These hunters are not like your kind. They live for the chase. They enjoy it. They will not stop until I am broken." Before Daniel could answer, a sound outside froze them both. A low growl, not human. Then heavy steps crunching against leaves. The shadows moved beyond the torchlight. Daniel quietly reached for his hunting knife, holding it tight in his hand. The alien woman's breath quickened. She pressed against the stone wall, glowing faintly. "They are close," she whispered. "I can feel them." Daniel slowly moved the torch closer to the cave entrance, trying to see. A figure stepped out of the trees. At first it looked human, but as it came closer, Daniel saw the truth. The creature's body was wrapped in black armor, scarred and dented. Its face was hidden under a helmet, but its eyes glowed red like burning coals. It carried a long weapon that hummed softly, alive with energy. The hunter stopped just outside, scanning the ground. Then it bent down, running its clawed hand across the soil, studying the tracks. Its head turned, and Daniel felt a chill. The glowing eyes were staring directly at the cave. The alien woman gripped Daniel's arm. "Don't move," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Don't breathe." But the hunter was already moving closer. Step by step, the armored figure entered the hollow. The torchlight flickered across its armor, making it look like a creature of metal and shadow. Daniel held his knife ready, but he knew he was no match. The hunter raised its weapon, the sound growing louder. Daniel's heart pounded. Then suddenly, the alien woman did something unexpected. She raised her hand, and for a brief second, her skin glowed brighter. A soft pulse of light filled the hollow. The hunter froze. It tilted its head as if recognizing her. Then it let out a harsh laugh, deep and metallic. "Weak," it growled. "So weak without your skin." Daniel tightened his grip on the knife. "Stay behind me," he whispered, but the hunter only laughed again. It didn't strike. Instead, it slowly backed out of the cave, disappearing into the trees. Its voice drifted back to them. "Run, little prey. The night is long. We will enjoy the hunt." The silence after was heavy. Daniel lowered the knife, breathing hard. His body was shaking, not from fear alone, but from rage. The alien woman slumped against the rock. "They play with us," she said quietly. "They want me afraid. They want me weak." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we stop playing their game." She looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Daniel leaned closer. His voice was firm now, stronger than before. "If they want to hunt us, then we turn the hunt on them. We find them first. We take back what's yours." Her eyes widened with both hope and doubt. "You would risk yourself for me?" Daniel nodded without hesitation. "No one deserves to be hunted like this. Not while I'm here." For a moment, silence filled the hollow. Then slowly her trembling hand touched his arm. "You are strange, human." "Strange, but kind." Daniel gave a small smile, though his heart was still pounding. He looked out into the dark forest. Somewhere out there, the hunters were waiting, watching, mocking. But he had made a choice. He would not let them win. Above the trees, one of the twin moons slipped behind a cloud, and darkness grew deeper. Somewhere far away, another cruel laugh echoed. The game had only just begun. The forest never slept. Even in the deep hours of the night, the alien world pulsed with strange sounds, whispers of leaves that were not leaves, low cries of creatures that lived in the shadows, and the steady beat of something large moving between the trees. Daniel knew the hunters had not gone. They were close, circling like wolves waiting for the perfect moment. He sat near the hollow, knife still in his hand. The alien woman, wrapped in his jacket, tried to rest, but her eyes kept snapping open. Every crack of a branch, every shift of wind made her tense. She was fading, her glow weaker now, her breathing uneven. Daniel leaned toward her. "We can't stay here. They'll trap us." Her lips trembled. "If we move, they will chase." "That is what they want." Daniel shook his head. "If we stay, they'll close in. I'd rather fight on open ground than die cornered." For a moment, she only stared at him. Then she gave a faint nod. "Then we run." They left the hollow quietly, moving through the thick trees. Daniel carried the torch low, keeping the fire dim. The ground sloped downward, leading toward a river he had noticed earlier in the day. If they could reach it, maybe the current would hide their tracks. But the hunters had already begun their game. First came the sound, a horn-like cry, echoing through the forest. It was deep, sharp, almost metallic. Daniel froze. The alien woman gripped his arm, her eyes wide with terror. "The call," she whispered. "The hunt begins." Almost at once, red lights flickered in the distance. Not one pair of eyes this time, many. They blinked between the trees, moving, circling, closing in. "Go," Daniel urged. They ran, stumbling over roots and stones, their footsteps loud in the silence. Behind them, the forest erupted. Heavy boots pounded the ground. Branches snapped. The hunters were fast, faster than any human. The alien woman gasped for breath. Her glowing skin flickered like a dying star. "I cannot." "You can," Daniel said firmly, pulling her forward. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he didn't stop. If he slowed, they would both be caught. Suddenly, a sharp blast struck the tree beside him. The bark exploded, glowing with heat. Daniel ducked, dragging her down. One of the hunters had fired. Another blast hit the ground near them, showering them with dirt. The hunters were not aiming to kill yet. They were pushing them, hurting them like animals. Daniel's mind raced. He couldn't outrun them, not with her so weak. They needed a trick. "Come on," he whispered, pulling her toward a fallen log. They crawled under it, pressing close to the damp earth. The hunters' footsteps thundered past, shaking the ground. Red lights flashed as they scanned the area. Daniel held his breath, his arm wrapped protectively around her. The alien woman clung to him, trembling. For a moment it seemed they might pass by, but then a growl rumbled above them. A shadow blocked the light. Slowly a hunter bent down, peering under the log. Its red eyes burned like fire. Daniel reacted without thinking. He shoved the torch forward, thrusting the flame into the creature's face. The hunter roared, jerking back. Daniel grabbed her hand. "Run!" They bolted from under the log. Shouts rose behind them, metallic voices full of rage. The chase was no longer a game. The hunters were angry now. Branches whipped at Daniel's face as he forced his legs to move faster. The river was close. He could hear the rush of water. He pulled her along, ignoring the pain in his chest. At last they broke through the trees. The river glistened under the moons, fast and wild. Daniel didn't hesitate. He jumped in, pulling her with him. The cold water hit like knives, dragging them into its current. The alien woman gasped, but Daniel held her tight, letting the river carry them. Behind them, the hunters reached the bank. Their red eyes glowed, searching. One of them aimed its weapon, but the rushing water dragged Daniel and the alien woman out of sight. For long minutes, they were tossed and pulled by the current. Daniel's arms ached, but he refused to let go of her. Finally, the river spat them out near a cluster of rocks. Gasping, Daniel dragged her onto the shore. She lay there, breathing hard, her glow flickering weakly. Daniel collapsed beside her, coughing water from his lungs. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then faintly, she whispered, They will not stop. They will hunt until dawn." Daniel looked back at the river, the forest beyond. He could still see faint red lights in the distance. The hunters were following the current, relentless. He clenched his fists. His body was bruised, his lungs burning, but his resolve hardened. "Then we make them regret chasing us." The alien woman turned her head, her glowing eyes searching his face. Despite her weakness, she gave a small, tired smile. "You are not like others," she whispered. "Most would have left me." Daniel shook his head. "I don't leave people to die." He stood slowly, scanning the rocks and trees around them. They needed a plan. Traps, tricks, anything to turn the chase back on the hunters. Above them, the sky was lightening, a faint hint of dawn touching the horizon. But dawn would not save them. The hunters' cruel game was only getting stronger, and Daniel knew the real fight was still ahead. The first light of dawn touched the alien forest, but the hunters did not stop. Daniel could still hear their distant horns echoing through the trees. The red eyes were gone for now, but he knew they were circling, waiting for weakness. He could not run forever. He needed a place to hide, a place to plan. The alien woman leaned against him as they walked. Her glow was faint now, as if her very life was slipping away. "I cannot." "Much longer," she whispered. Daniel's heart pounded. He searched the landscape desperately. Then he saw it, half hidden behind vines, a dark opening in the side of a cliff. A cave. "There," he said, pointing. With the last of his strength, Daniel guided her inside. The cave swallowed them in darkness. The sound of dripping water echoed through the hollow space. Daniel lit his torch again, the small fire pushing back the shadows. The woman sank against the stone wall, breathing hard. Daniel knelt beside her, worry etched across his face. "Rest here. You're safe for now," but she shook her head weakly. "No, nowhere is safe." Her words chilled him, but he pushed the fear aside. He needed answers. He needed to understand who she was and why the hunters wanted her so badly. "Tell me the truth," he said softly. "Why are they chasing you? Why risk so much for clothes?" Her glowing eyes lifted to his. For a long time she was silent, as if fighting an inner battle. Then at last she spoke. "My name is Elira," she whispered. "I am not just a traveler. I am the daughter of a leader." "Of the resistance," Daniel's eyes widened. "Resistance?" Elira nodded slowly. "There are many worlds under the rule of the Galactic Court. They claim to bring order, but their order is chains. My father fights against them. He hides refugees, gives shelter to the weak. But the court sends hunters to crush us, mercenaries, killers, slavers." Her voice trembled as she continued. "My clothes were more than protection. They carried a map, a hidden code showing the safe routes, the secret shelters. If the hunters take it, the court will find them all. Every child, every family. They will all be captured or killed." Daniel felt the weight of her words hit him like stone. This wasn't just about her survival. It was about hundreds, maybe thousands of innocent lives. He clenched his fists. "So the hunters don't just want you. They want the map." Elira's eyes shimmered with tears. "Yes, that is why I cannot be caught. That is why I would rather die than let them take me." Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked at her fragile form, her skin flickering like fading light. She seemed so weak, so breakable, yet she carried the burden of an entire people. His anger burned hotter. "You won't die," he said firmly. "Not while I'm here. We'll take back what's yours." Before Elira could respond, a sound froze them both. A faint scrape against stone, a whisper of movement deep inside the cave. Daniel raised the torch, his knife in the other hand. "We're not alone." From the shadows came footsteps. Slow, deliberate, the sound of metal against rock. A red glow appeared deeper in the cave, eyes. Elira gasped. "They found us." Daniel stepped in front of her, his body tense. The figure moved closer, the torchlight revealing jagged armor and a cruel, twisted helmet. A hunter. But something was different about this one. It was larger, stronger, its armor marked with strange symbols. The leader. The hunter's voice rumbled, deep and metallic. "Little prey, did you think you could hide in a hole?" Daniel gripped his knife tighter. "Stay back." The hunter laughed, the sound echoing through the cave. "Brave human. Foolish human. Do you know who you protect? She is no innocent. She is a criminal. A traitor to the law of the galaxy." Daniel felt Elira's trembling hand clutch his arm. "Do not listen," she whispered. "They twist words." The hunter tilted its head. "Give her to us, human. Walk away and live, defy us, and you die with her." Daniel's heart pounded. He knew he couldn't defeat this monster head-on, but he couldn't abandon her either. His voice came out steady even as fear clawed at him. "Then I die with her," the hunter growled, stepping closer. The air around them seemed to thicken with menace, but before it could strike, a sudden rumble shook the cave. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, dust filling the air. The hunter snarled and stepped back, shielding its eyes. Daniel grabbed Elira's hand. "Now!" he shouted. They ran deeper into the cave, the torchlight bouncing wildly against the stone. Behind them, the hunter roared, its voice echoing like thunder. "Run, human! Run while you can! You cannot escape forever." Daniel and Elira stumbled through narrow passages, the walls closing in. The cave twisted and turned like a maze. At last, they collapsed in a small chamber where the air was cool, and the sound of the hunter's footsteps faded. Elira leaned against the wall, shaking. "They will not stop," she whispered. "Not until one of us is dead." Daniel tightened his grip on the knife. His body was tired, his lungs burned, but his resolve was stronger than ever. He looked into her glowing eyes and said quietly, "Then we make sure it isn't us." The cave around them was silent, but Daniel knew the silence was temporary. The hunters were out there, waiting, circling like predators. The secrets of the cave had been revealed, and now the truth weighed heavy on both of them. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for freedom, for hope, for lives Daniel had never even seen, and he would not give up. Not now, not ever. The cave was silent after the rumble. Dust floated in the air, glowing faintly in the torchlight. Daniel leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His knife shook in his hand, not from fear alone, but from exhaustion. Every muscle in his body burned. Elira sat beside him, her glow faint as a dying ember. For a moment it felt as if they had escaped. But Daniel knew better. The hunters were patient. They were predators who enjoyed the chase. They would not give up until the final kill. Elira's voice broke the silence. "You should leave me." Her words were soft, but her eyes were heavy with pain. "If they catch you, they will kill you. I am their prize, not you." Daniel shook his head sharply. "I don't abandon people, not to monsters like them." For the first time, she looked at him with something more than fear. Respect. Perhaps even trust. But before either could say more, a sound echoed from the deeper tunnels. Footsteps. Many of them. Daniel's grip tightened on the knife. "They're coming." The torchlight flickered against the stone walls. Shadows stretched and bent, and soon armored figures appeared, their red eyes glowing like coals in the dark. The hunters had found them again. Daniel stood in front of Elira, knife ready. But he knew the truth. He was one man with a blade against an army with energy weapons. This wasn't a fight he could win. Then something strange happened. One of the hunters stepped forward, lowering its weapon. It raised a hand, and the other stopped. The figure removed its helmet, and the torchlight revealed a scarred face, alien but humanoid enough for Daniel to read the emotions. Shock, recognition, betrayal. Elira gasped. "You," the hunter smirked. "Did you miss me, princess?" Daniel's eyes darted between them. "You know him." Her face was pale. "He was one of my guards, one of the trusted few. He swore to protect me." Her voice broke. "And he betrayed me." The guard-turned hunter laughed, the sound cruel and cold. "Protection? You were never worth protecting. You are a symbol of rebellion, nothing more. Do you know what the court promised me when I delivered you? Power, wealth, a name carved in history." Elira trembled, her glow dimming. "You sold your honor." "I sold my chains," the traitor hissed. "And soon I will sell you." Daniel stepped forward, anger boiling in his chest. "You're no better than a dog chasing scraps." The hunter's eyes narrowed. "Careful, human. You will not live long enough to regret those words." Before Daniel could answer, the hunters surged forward. Weapons hummed, the cave filling with blinding light. Daniel swung his knife desperately, sparks flying as it struck metal armor. He dodged one blast, then another, the heat scorching his skin. Elira, weak and trembling, pressed her hand to the stone wall. Her skin flickered, and for a moment light burst from her body. A small shield of energy formed around them, deflecting a few of the blasts. The hunters snarled in frustration, but the effort drained her instantly. She collapsed, the shield flickering out. Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. "Stay with me!" he shouted. The traitor laughed, stepping closer. "She cannot hold out. Soon she will fade, and all that will remain is the code in her suit. Hand her over, human. Save yourself." Daniel stood tall, knife still in his hand. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me," the traitor sneered. "Then you will burn together." He raised his weapon, a spear crackling with fire-like energy. With a sudden thrust, the cave walls burst into flame. Dry moss and roots caught quickly, the narrow space filling with smoke. The heat was suffocating. Daniel pulled Elira back, coughing, his eyes burning. The hunters moved easily through the fire, their armor protecting them. Daniel's skin blistered from the heat, his lungs screaming for air. A trap, Elira whispered weakly. They want to smoke us out. Daniel's mind raced. They couldn't stay here. If the fire didn't kill them, the hunters would. He scanned the cave desperately and spotted a narrow crack in the wall, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Come on, he said, lifting her into his arms. He ran for the crack, ignoring the flames that licked at his arms. Behind him, the traitor shouted, "Run, little human! Run until your lungs burst." Daniel forced himself through the narrow gap, scraping his shoulders against the rock. The crack opened into a smaller tunnel, cooler and darker. He stumbled forward until the smoke thinned, setting Elira down gently. She coughed weakly, her glow faint but steady. "You saved me again," she whispered. Daniel brushed the ash from his face. "I'll keep saving you until this is over." But inside, his anger burned hotter than the fire they had escaped. The hunters were merciless, but betrayal cut deeper than any weapon. Someone Elira once trusted had turned against her, and now hundreds of lives hung in the balance. Daniel looked back at the flickering glow of fire in the tunnel. He clenched his jaw. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting to end this chase, to take back what was stolen and to make the betrayer pay. The hunters' cruel voices echoed faintly through the smoke. The game was not over. It had only grown deadlier, and Daniel knew with cold certainty that the fire was only the beginning. The cave tunnels spat Daniel and Elira out onto a rocky cliffside. The early sun washed the alien sky in shades of silver and pale blue, but the beauty was wasted on them. Behind them, smoke rose from the cave, and the echoes of cruel laughter still followed. The hunters were close. Too close. Daniel pulled Elira to her feet. She swayed, weak and trembling, but she nodded when he whispered, "We can't stop now." They scrambled along the cliff path. Sharp stones cut into Daniel's boots and loose gravel slid under his steps. The drop below was dizzying, a deep canyon where the river thundered far below. The hunters' horns blared behind them, sharp and mocking. "They want us afraid," Daniel muttered. "They think we'll run until we collapse." Elira's voice was faint. "That is what they do. They break hope before they kill." Daniel's jaw tightened. He had run enough. He was tired of being prey. If the hunters wanted a chase, it was time to end it. He stopped suddenly, pulling Elira into the shadow of a rock. She looked at him with fear. "Why stop?" "They are coming." Daniel's eyes scanned the cliff. The rocks were unstable, sharp boulders resting above thin ledges. The canyon wind howled between cracks. An idea sparked in his mind, risky, dangerous, but their only chance. He knelt in front of her. "I need you to trust me." Her glowing eyes flickered with confusion. "What are you planning?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I can't fight them with strength, but I can use the land. Humans are good at building traps, and I'm about to make one." Before she could answer, the sound of boots hammered closer. The hunters were spreading out along the path, red eyes scanning. Daniel moved quickly, wedging his knife between cracks, loosening stones. His hands bled, his arms ached, but he didn't stop. He piled sharp rocks above the narrow trail, balancing them carefully. Every second counted. Elira watched him with wide eyes. "You are mad, human." Daniel gave a faint grin through the sweat on his face. "Maybe, but madness is all we've got." The first hunter appeared around the bend. Its armor glistened in the morning light, weapon raised. It growled when it saw them, shouting a signal. More shadows appeared behind it. Daniel's heart pounded. He grabbed Elira's hand and pulled her farther back. "Stay low." The hunters advanced, their boots shaking the unstable ground. Daniel waited, his palms slick with sweat, until the lead hunter stepped onto the narrowest part of the trail. Then with all his strength, he kicked the loose stones. The cliff roared. Boulders tumbled down like a storm, smashing into the trail. The first hunter screamed as it was swept into the canyon, vanishing into the river below. Two more stumbled, one crushed by falling rock, the other barely clinging to the ledge. Elira gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Daniel pulled her back as dust and rock filled the air. When the chaos cleared, half the trail was gone, broken into rubble. But the victory was short. The traitor stepped through the dust, his armor scarred but intact. His red eyes glowed with fury. "Clever human," he growled. "But tricks will not save you." Behind him, more hunters appeared, climbing over the rubble. Daniel's heart sank. He had taken some down, but not enough. The traitor leveled his crackling spear. "This ends now." Daniel stepped forward, knife still in his hand. His body ached, his chest burned, but his voice was steady. "No, it ends when I say it does," the traitor sneered. "Do you think you can stand against us? You are one. We are many." Daniel's eyes flashed with fire. "Maybe, but one human can be enough." With that, he lunged. His knife slashed across the traitor's arm, sparks flying. The traitor roared, swinging the spear. Daniel ducked, the weapon grazing his shoulder and searing his skin. Pain shot through him, but he pushed forward, driving the knife into a crack in the spear's shaft. The weapon sparked violently, its energy unstable. The traitor shoved him back, the spear trembling in his hands. "You fool!" Daniel stumbled, coughing from smoke and dust, but he stood tall. His legs shook, his arms burned, but he would not fall. Behind him, Illyra's faint voice rose. "Daniel!" She pressed her hand to the ground, her glow flickering back to life. For a moment, light pulsed through the stone, giving him strength. Daniel gritted his teeth and raised his knife again. "I'm not afraid of you," the traitor snarled. "Then die!" The hunters closed in, weapons humming, the canyon echoing with their steps. But Daniel did not step back. He planted his feet firmly on the broken trail, knife ready, eyes blazing. If this was where he would fall standing. He would fight until the last breath, not for glory, not for survival alone, but for the alien woman who had trusted him, and for the countless lives hidden in her stolen map. The human stand had begun. The cliff trembled beneath Daniel's boots as the hunters closed in. The air smelled of dust, smoke, and burning energy. His body was weak, his shoulders scorched from the spear's strike, but his grip on the knife did not falter. Behind him, Illyra leaned against the rocks, her glow faint yet steady, her eyes locked on him with desperate faith. The traitor stepped forward, spear crackling, his cruel smile twisted beneath his scarred face. "You are finished, human. You cannot win." Daniel tightened his jaw. "Maybe I can't, but I can make sure you lose." The hunters growled, spreading out in a half circle. Red eyes glowed like fire in the dawn. The canyon wind howled, carrying the sound of rushing water far below. The world itself seemed to hold its breath. The traitor lunged, his spear sliced through the air, blazing with energy. Daniel dodged left, the edge grazing his arm and sending pain shooting down his body. He grit his teeth and slashed with his knife, sparks flashing as steel met armor. The traitor struck again, faster this time. Daniel stumbled, barely raising the blade in time. "Give her to us!" The traitor roared. "Never!" Daniel shouted. His voice echoed across the canyon. Behind them, Illyra's glow flickered brighter. She pressed her trembling hands against the rock, whispering words in a language Daniel could not understand. The ground shivered faintly as if answering her call. The hunters noticed. One aimed its weapon at her. Daniel's heart froze. If they struck her, everything was lost. With a roar, he threw himself at the traitor, knocking the spear aside. The weapon sparked wildly, its unstable energy burning the stone floor. The other hunters hesitated, unwilling to risk hitting their leader. Daniel's knife slashed across the spear again, breaking one of its coils. The weapon shrieked, glowing dangerously. The traitor cursed, shoving him back with inhuman strength. "You think courage will save you?" the traitor growled. "Courage burns as easily as flesh." Daniel wiped blood from his mouth and spat on the ground. "Maybe, but courage is the only thing you'll never take from me." The traitor raised the damaged spear, but before he could strike, Illyra's voice rang out. "Enough!" Her body flared with sudden light, blinding in the morning air. The hunters staggered, shielding their eyes. Daniel turned, stunned. Her glow was no longer weak, it was strong, radiant, a beacon. She stood tall despite her frail body, her hair flowing with energy. The traitor snarled. "You have no power without your suit." Illyra's voice was steady, though soft. "My strength does not come from the suit. It comes from hope, from trust, from him." Her eyes flicked toward Daniel. The ground beneath them cracked as her energy pulsed through the stone. Small shards of rock rose into the air, glowing with her light. The hunters shouted in confusion. The traitor lunged at her, desperate, but Daniel intercepted him. With the last of his strength, he drove his knife into the broken coil of the spear. The weapon screamed, sparks bursting. Daniel ripped the blade down, splitting the shaft. The spear exploded in a flash of fire and lightning. Both men were thrown backward. Daniel hit the rocks hard, his body aching, his knife spinning out of his hand. The traitor staggered to his knees, armor shattered, one arm limp. His red eyes burned with rage. You ruined everything," he snarled. Daniel forced himself up, chest heaving. His body screamed for rest, but his heart refused. He stumbled forward, fists clenched. "This ends now." The traitor lunged and they collided, grappling like wild beasts. Daniel punched, kicked, clawed, every ounce of human stubbornness driving him on. The traitor slammed him against the stone, but Daniel refused to fall. He thought of Elira, of the refugees who depended on her, of every innocent life hidden in that stolen map. With a roar, Daniel shoved the traitor toward the cliff's edge. The alien snarled, grabbing his throat. Daniel's vision darkened as pressure crushed his windpipe. But he spotted loose gravel under the traitor's boots. With one desperate kick, he shattered the rock beneath them. The traitor slipped, arms flailing. His red eyes widened in shock as his body tumbled backward, disappearing into the endless canyon. His scream was swallowed by the roar of the river below. Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. His chest burned, but he was alive. Silence fell. The remaining hunters hesitated. Their leader was gone. Their prize glowed with power again, and the human who refused to die still stood. Elira raised her hand, her glow spreading like dawn across the cliffside. The hunters stepped back, unsure, fear flickering in their eyes. Then, without a word, they turned and melted into the forest shadows, their red lights fading. Daniel staggered to his feet. Elira rushed to him, catching his arm. "You did it. You stood when no one else would." Daniel gave a weak smile. "Told you. Humans don't quit." She placed her hand on his chest, her glow softening. "Because of you, the map will be safe. My people will live." Daniel looked into her galaxy-filled eyes and whispered, "Then it was worth it." Together they stood on the broken cliff, the rising sun painting the sky gold. The hunters were gone for now. The fight for freedom was far from over. But today, hope had survived, and all because one human had refused to bow.